Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeff McKinnon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a certified yoga instructor. I've been teaching yoga for, almost 10 years now probably. Teach Yoga 11 at the high school here in Truro at CEC. I own my own yoga studio, ended up selling that, continue to teach yoga weekly. And so this is something brand new that I thought that I might be able to reach more people with. It's going to be an online yoga course. For the first couple months, November, December, it's going to be just $5, taxes included for each of my offerings. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post once a week. And you'll have 7 days to do the yoga class. I know that getting to an actual studio is tough for many people, so this is something that you can do right at home. Come January and onward, I'm going to offer some different modules, and I'll have more information on that as we progress forward. So, settle in, and hope you enjoy. We're going to start here in a seated position, the legs crossed. I'm just going to want you to close your eyes and just become aware of the sounds of your breathing. Notice how the breath comes in through the nostrils and down across the back of the throat into the belly. Simply becoming aware of your breathing is enough to start to slow down some of the, as Patanjali, the father of yoga, would say, the fluctuations of the mind. Preferably breathing in through the nostrils and out of the nostrils if possible. If your nose is kind of stuffed up, then you can open up your mouth and allow the breath to come in through the mouth gently. And feel free to use your own background music if you wish. I am doing this class at home, and I do have 5 kids, and so you may hear a yell here or there. I told them to be quiet, but you know how it is, right? Let's take 3 or 4 nice, deep, smooth breaths here. Allowing the incoming air to stretch you from the inside out. I like to begin all my yoga classes by sitting down and just becoming aware of my breathing. It helps me to settle down. And I don't necessarily mean physically, although it does help me physically, also mentally. We also have a cat, so if the cat gets into the video here, I apologize. Alright, so we're going to do some movement here. We're going to do some sun salutations, and I'm going to walk you through a few of them. I'll try to give you some modifications as we move along here. So I want you to begin in mountain pose. Mountain pose occurs at the top of our mat, usually 6 to 12 inches or so from the top of the mat. We want our big toes touching, our heels can be slightly separated. I want you to lift up all your toes, and I want you to separate all the toes. And take your big toes only, push them down. You can feel the longitudinal arch of the foot. And then take your little baby toes and press them down. You feel the horizontal arch, and then you can allow the 3 toes in the middle to find a nice wide surface area. I want you to lift up your kneecaps gently, engaging your thighs, squeezing the thighs inward together. Shoulder blades are pulled up. We want to drop them down. We want to pull the chin in. We want to straighten our elbows. I want you to open up your finger bones and squeeze your hands in towards your side. In mountain pose, we want to have alignment of ear over shoulder, over hip, over knee, over ankle. Alright, so we're going to go through a nice, easy sun salutation A. I'm going to have to move my mat a little bit here, excuse me. How's that? Alright, here we go. I want you to breathe in, bring your arms up overhead. And then as you breathe out, you're going to come into a nice, gentle forward fold. You can bend your knees here a little bit, bringing your belly to your thighs and your head to drape. And on the next breath in, we're going to lift up to a flat back. And then as we exhale, we're going to bring our hands to the floor, take little baby steps back. I want you to drop your knees, drop your bellies, and drop your chests and shoulders towards the floor. Point those toes. Let's inhale into a small little cobra here. And then as we exhale, we're going to come into a wide-kneed child's pose. So the knees are about as wide as our mat. Our hips are sinking back here towards our heels. I want you to double stack your fists and rest your forehead on those stacked fists. And then it's time to take a few nice deep breaths here. We want to listen to the sound of the breathing at the back of the throat. The breath comes in through the nostrils, swirls around the back of the throat, and then goes down into the trachea and into our lungs. We call this the ocean breath. Let's all take one more nice deep breath here. And then when you're ready, we're going to come into the infamous downward facing dog, just for one breath. I want you to look through your hands. Next breath in, walk your feet all the way back up to your flat back. And then exhale as you fold forward. You can bend the knees a bit. And let's inhale, bring those arms all the way back overhead. And we're going to exhale back here to mountain pose. Let's do that again. So just breathe in, bring those arms up overhead. Breathe out, coming forward into a little fold. Be gentle on the body. Let's inhale to a flat back. And then we're going to exhale, taking little baby steps back. Drop the knees, drop the hips. Keep those elbows tight to the ribs. Inhale, little baby cobra. You can contract your glutes there as we come into a back bend. And then we're going to exhale into child's pose again. Now this time we're going to bring our knees so that they're hip width. We're going to tuck our toes underneath. And instead of resting our forehead on our stack fist, we're going to reach those arms way out in front, open up those finger bones. And now we tuck the chin. We look through the knees, and then we look through the feet towards the back wall. Then we close the eyes so we can bring our awareness inside where gas exchange occurs. Big, deep, slow breaths here, listening to the sound that you're creating at the back of the throat. You can gently press your hands, your palms into the floor a little bit as you can feel that opening through the armpits, down the side ribs. And then we fill up those little openings with breath. Let's take one more breath here in our child's pose. And then when you're ready, we'll come into our downward facing dog. All right. Look through those hands. Inhale, walk your feet back up, flat back. Exhale, let's fold forward. Inhale, bringing the arms all the way back overhead. And exhale back to our strong mountain pose, which we call home base. Again, inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. This time as we exhale, we're going to lunge with our right and then our left. We're going to go from high plank to low plank, keeping those elbows tight to the ribs, working on that upper body strength. Let's inhale a little bit of a taller cobra. And then we're going to exhale this time. If you wanted to, you can come in right into your downward facing dog. If you're not quite warmed up enough and you want to stay in child's pose, please feel free to stay in child's pose. If you're in downward dog, your feet are about hip width apart. Your hands are about shoulder width apart. Opening up the toes, opening up the fingers, and press those hips towards the back wall. Tuck your chin, looking up towards the belly button, and then close the eyes. Listen to the quality of your breathing. One more big breath here. All right, now we're looking through the hands. On your next in-breath, we're going to step forward with the right, followed by the left to flat back. And then exhale as we fold. And then inhale, bring the arms back overhead. And exhale, back to mountain pose. That's 3. We're going to do 2 more. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, flat back. This time as we exhale, we're going to lunge with the left and then the right. And let's work on that upper body strength by slowly going high to low plank. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. 5 deep breaths, give or take. I want you to be in charge of the quality of the breaths, and I'll be in charge of the quantity. That's it. If you're in child's pose, come on back into downward facing dog. That's it. Let's look through the hands. Next inhale, lunging left, then right, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, try to keep those legs straight as you come on back up. Arms overhead, and exhale, mountain pose. One more on your own. This time you want to do a little hop. Nice and softly down into your low plank. Good job. One more breath here. I want you to look through the hands. Next breath in, you're going to step, lunge, or hop. Getting the flat back. And then exhale, fold forward. Inhale, bringing yourself back up to extended mountain pose. And exhale, back to mountain pose. Good job. So that's 5 sun salutation A's. Nice little warm-up. We're going to move into a few standing postures. The first one is a standing forward bend. What we want to do here is get our feet about hip width apart. Same thing as in our mountain pose. You want to lift up all your toes, separate them, and then take your big toes, press them down, and then the baby toes, press them down, and then the 3 in the middle, press them down. Lift those kneecaps, make them nice and strong. So this is a quadricep strengthening exercise here, okay? It's an isometric contraction, which means there is no movement, no eccentric or concentric phase of the muscular contraction. Muscles stay the same length throughout. Really good way to build strength in the thighs, okay? So lift your kneecaps, engage your thighs. Hands on hips, take a big breath, look up. And then as we exhale, we're going to hinge forward. And we're going to keep going until our knees seem like they want to buckle. And that could occur at any range of motion here. Your job is to listen to your body, okay? We're trying to find our edge. When you find your edge, which is that spot where your knees start to need to bend, then just back off slightly. Let go of your hips, and you can either grab your opposite elbows here, or you can let your arms just dangle, or maybe someday you would take your peace fingers and wrap them around the big toes. Now you can't really see my big toes here. We take the fingers in between the first and second toe, and we take a big breath in as we lengthen the spine. What that means is tuck your tailbone, tuck your chin, and then as we exhale, keeping those legs perfectly straight, we're bringing our belly toward our thighs, and we're looking up towards the belly button. And we hold gently for about 5 deep breaths. Here we go. Try to keep those kneecaps lifting upward. Excellent. Next breath in, come back up to a flat back. Bring those hands to hips, squeeze your elbows together, legs are straight. Inhale as we arch the back slightly, leading with the crown of the head all the way back up. And then we finish back in our mountain pose. Good job. Shake that out. I call this the chicken dance. Okay, my former Yoga 11 students would have a little chuckle out of that one. Okay, next one is going to be for lateral flexion of the spine. So we have forward flexion, which looks like this. We have extension, which looks like this. And then we have lateral flexion that is like this. And then, of course, we have rotation, which is here. So our first one is triangle pose for lateral flexion. Left foot out in front. We're going to take a nice step back with our right. We generally have about a leg length between our heels. So about a heel-to-heel relationship. And what we want to do is we don't want to have our hips and shoulders square to the front of the mat. I call this the long side of our mat. We want to have our torso open up for the long side of the mat. Both kneecaps are lifted, so our legs are going to stay straight. And I want you to reach out with your arms in either direction. Now it's actually called extended triangle. So what that means is we extend forward as we inhale, and then as we exhale, we simply drop the left hand. Maybe you want to grab that chin. Sometimes I'll use a block or something else. Eventually we're going to grab the big toe. That might take us a little while. So let's just grab somewhere where it's comfortable. Now with this right arm, we're going to reach it up, and your palm is going to face outward, so the long side of the mat. I want you to open up all your fingers, and your drishti point, which is your external focus point, that's your thumb. Perfect. Let's hold and breathe. Focusing on the sound of the breath, the quality of the breath. One more breath. Perfect. Let's inhale, lift ourselves up, and then you can shake it out. So I'm just going to pivot so that both feet are about parallel, because I'm going to do my next triangle, except I'm going to face the opposite direction. Okay? So you can check your feet, heel to heel relationship. About a leg distance between your heels. Open up the torso to face the side wall or the long side of the mat. Reach your arms back and forth. Let's inhale, lean towards your right leg. And as we exhale, we simply come into this lateral flexion. And then you can look, a little twist of the neck, look up to the thumb. So we should have a nice straight line between the left middle finger, down through the left shoulder, down through the right shoulder, right through the right middle finger. Let's hold here. So there's no movement, but we have a lot of strengthening going on as we keep those kneecaps lifted upwards. Good job. Next inhale, lift yourself up. And exhale, shake that out. Okay, a little bit of a rotation now. We're going to do the side angle, revolve side angle pose it's called. So I'm going to step back with my right foot, and I'm going to drop down onto that right knee. What we want to do, so this is rotation. The first pose we did, that standing forward bend, was for our forward flexion. The triangle is for lateral flexion. And now we're coming into rotation. So I'm going to grab the outside of that left thigh here. So sometimes I gotta kind of twist and get my little gut out of the way so I get a nice twist. This is a stage 1 twist here. We have to remember that yoga is not a competition. It's not about mastering postures. Yoga is simply about being with what is. So today, I feel good right here, so I may stay here. Maybe you want to go further into the pose. What we can try to attempt to do here, we take that right elbow across the leg. So I'm squeezing that femur bone into my armpit area. And then what I do is I call this squishing the sandwich. So we're stacking elbows, left elbow over right elbow. And I want to pull these thumbs into my heart center. And then we look up towards the ceiling. Now there's another one here if we want to go the next level, and that would be to lift that back right leg up off the ground. And we hold and breathe. Trying to become comfortable with being in an uncomfortable situation. And this helps us in the outside world when we encounter uncomfortable situations. If you can take a couple of breaths, chances are you'll get through it. One more breath here. Good job. We can exhale and just come into a lunge position. And your next breath in, you're going to step forward with your right foot. You're going to exhale as you fold forward. Let's inhale, bring the arms back up overhead. And this time as we exhale, we're going to step back with the left foot. So I'm going to switch positions here so I can keep my eyes on you. Make sure you guys are doing this at home, right? Okay, so a little twist. Grabbing the outside of that right thigh, shoulder blades are pulled back and down. Chin is tucked in slightly. Let's take a few breaths here before moving into a more difficult position. So it's called a krama. Krama is a progressionary difficult scale, I guess you could say. Okay, so stay here if you want. If you want to go to the next one, trying to get that elbow across. Squeeze that thigh right into that left armpit if you can. Squish your sandwich. Stack the right elbow over the left. Pull those thumbs into your heart center. Look up towards the ceiling. If you want the next level of the krama, you can lift that back left knee up. Parivrtta Parsvakonasana, revolve side angle pose. If you have a little shaking going on, that means you're riding that edge. You're right on the edge. Any more, you might fall. Any less, you may not be getting enough. One more breath in. And let's exhale. Lunge position. Next breath in, stepping forward, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, back to home base. You guessed it, mountain pose. All right, shake that out. So now we're coming into a balance. One of my favorite balance poses is called the tree pose. Some days are windy, some days are calm, right? So I'll get you to mirror me. So this is your left leg. I want you to start on your left leg. Now since we're going from 2 feet to 1 foot, we gotta make sure that this is gonna be a strong trunk like the tree. These are the tree branches. So we're gonna just lift up our right foot, find our balance, and we're gonna take that right foot and just put it on the side of the calf. Now our gluteus muscle is used to externally rotate that femur. So we wanna open that femur out so it's pointing to the side. And then we have our trees. Let's just hold. Usually we pick a spot about 6 feet out in front of us on the floor. That's our drishti, which again is our external focus point. If you have a hard time focusing and concentrating, get a little bit of ADHD, this type of position is great because it forces you to focus, and if you don't, you're going to fall on your butt. One more big breath here, and then we can exhale, you guessed it. home base mountain pose. Okay, shake it out, little chicken dance. Let's go on the other side. Right foot. Find your balance on that right foot. Bring your left foot to the side of the calf. Externally rotate that left leg out. Now this right leg wants to be strong, like a tree trunk, right? And then all this other stuff doesn't really matter. If you're feeling calm, then you can do whatever you wish with those hands. If you're feeling a little shaky, then fine, keep your arms out here. Sometimes people like to do this with the chair right here, and then they can grab the chair if they're going to fall. 2 more breaths. And relax. Great work. Okay, we got one more posture before we get to a seated position. When we go to a seated position, I'm just going to tilt that camera down a little bit. So this one is called Warrior Two pose. So it's similar to triangle, except instead of the triangle with both legs straight, we're going to sink into that front knee. So what we want here is we want to have a knee over heel alignment. Torso is once again open, facing the side wall here, the long side of the mat. Shoulder blades are pulled back, drop down, and then from that down position we reach out. I want you to look at your back. Right hand should be parallel to the floor. That's good. And then your left. Great. This is it. Big breaths. This time your drishti point is on your left middle finger. One more breath. Now exhale it out. And squeeze it. And keep squeezing it. Do you feel your core? Yes. Inhale. Straighten those legs. Pivot. Shake it out. Okay. Same thing. Other direction. So the right foot is pointing to the short side of the mat. We're going to sink into the knee. So we have a perpendicular shin bone here, the tibia. Open up the torso. Roll the shoulder blades back and down, and then reach out from that position. Now, a lot of people, when they do this, they lean forward, so they have this diagonal spine, and what we want a perpendicular spine, okay? Back leg is straight and strong, both a heel-to-heel relationship. Looking over that right middle finger and hold. Good job. Inhale up and exhale. All right, so that's the standing poses. And now what we're going to do is we're going to tilt the camera down a little bit because we're going to move into our seated section, okay? So give me a sec here. All right. So, sitting with our legs crossed, sometimes I like to elevate my hips up onto a bolster or a cushion or a block of some type. When I first started doing yoga, I was like, ah. And so if you feel like when your legs are crossed, you're falling backwards, then simply elevating yourself up so that the hips are above the level of the knees will keep you in a more comfortable position, okay? We're going to start here, first off, with a seated forward fold. And even before that, we're going to work on our seated mountain pose. We did the standing mountain pose, now we're going to do the seated mountain pose. It starts with our feet together. So the big toes are touching, the heels can be slightly separated. All the other toes are trying to be opened up like my fingers here. Okay? And sometimes your toes seem to have a mind of their own. We want to lift up the kneecaps, engaging those thighs again. We're going to squeeze the knees inward. That gets our adductor muscles. Take the shoulder blades, roll them back, drop them down, and press those hands into the floor. Now try to straighten your elbows. I remember when I first started doing yoga, I was like, I can't reach. I got these little T-Rex arms. I couldn't reach the floor. It was because I was so jammed up in my neck and my shoulders. I was stressed out. So Jenny, my teacher, said, Jeff, just relax, man. And so I started to learn how to relax through my neck and my shoulders. And lo and behold, my hands just magically reached the floor. All right, so you roll the shoulder back and down, lift up through the spine, tuck in your chin. Don't forget those legs, don't forget those toes. Let's hold here. This position is called Dandasana, or a seated staff pose, seated mountain pose. Now, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on here, right? Some people look at yoga and they say, come on, how is that difficult? But if you're doing this pose correctly, you're feeling all kinds of things going on the inside. Teaches us not to judge a book by its cover, right? Okay, one more breath. And then relax. Notice what happens. Oh, this feels more comfortable, right? This is the familiar position that we're in, right? We're texting all the time. So we need to counterbalance that by doing that upward lift through the spine. Okay, now the next one is a forward fold. So sometimes people will take a strap and they'll put a strap around their feet. Today we're just going to grab the back of the knees or the back of the thighs, wherever feels comfortable. What we're going to do is we're going to breathe in, lift up through the crown of the neck, and then as we exhale, sorry, crown of the head, not crown of the neck, we're going to exhale forward. Now watch what I don't want to see. Do you see how my back is all rounded there? If we were doing yin yoga, I'd say, hey, let's do this and just relax for 3 to 5 minutes. But we're doing yang yoga. Yang yoga is the strengthening yoga. So we really want to work on the posterior chain. So big breath in. As we exhale, we may only go forward like 2 centimeters. As long as your spine is the same long and strong, then you're good. Your drishti point here is your big toes. So tuck in your chin, keep your eyes on those big toes, and hold. If you can reach your big toes, some people like to wrap those peace fingers around the big toes, bring those elbows out to the side. Again, it doesn't matter how far you go in a position, it's all about listening to your body's inner messages. The more you listen to the body's inner messages, the more in tune you become with what your body is trying to tell you. So instead of ignoring the body's signals and messages, maybe we can start listening to them. That'll help prevent disease and illness from creeping in. One more breath. That's good. Let's slowly inhale back up. And then as we exhale, we're going to shake it out. So what I like to do when I'm doing yang yoga is I like to keep the heat in my body, right? We developed heat known as tapas through the sun salutations. And so after each position, I like to do a little flow, we call a vinyasa, to kind of realign things and keep that heat alive. So what we want to do is we want to bring ourselves to the top of the mat with our legs crossed. Then what we want to do is get to a high plank any way we can. So maybe for some of us, it's just sweeping the legs out to the side and get into a high push-up position. So from here, we take a big breath in. Then as we exhale, elbows are tight to the ribs. We're moving forward slightly to low plank. And then we're inhaling to up dog or cobra. There's a difference. There's cobra. There's up dog. And then we're going to exhale to downward dog. And then we're going to come back through to a seated position any way you can. Perfect. Okay, so the next one. We're going to take our right knee into our hand. We're just going to do a little rockabye baby here. So the knee is a hinge joint. It should only hinge in this way. Any rotation or lateral movement comes from the hip joint. It's a ball and socket. So let's take that right foot, place it inside the left thigh. Let's make sure we have a nice mountain pose alignment. So the big toes going straight up, all the other toes are separated. We have nice dorsiflexion here, activating the tibialis anterior. Kneecap is lifted, activating the quads. Shoulder blades pulled back, drop down, chin is tucked in. Let's take a big breath in. And then exhale once again. Try not to round the back. Keep that back long and strong. Look at your left big toe and hold. One more breath here. Good job. Let's inhale, lift ourselves up. Give this right knee a little hug. Kick it up through the heel and slowly lower. Good, shake it out. Let's switch sides. So sometimes I'll do a vinyasa there, other times I'll do both sides and then I'll do my vinyasa. A little rockabye baby. Treating our knees like little babies. Treating with love and respect. Tuck that left foot in. Get yourself lined up here in mountain pose on the right side. So the toes are separated, big toe straight up, dorsiflexion, kneecap lifted, shoulder blades back and down. Big breath in, lengthen right up through that crown. And exhale, hinging forward. Tuck your chin, eyes on the big toe, and hold. That's it. Let's inhale up and exhale. Good job. Hug that knee. Kick it up through the heel. Slowly lower. Let's lean back on our hands and just shake that out a little bit. All right, let's do one of those vinyasas again. So we pull ourselves up to the top of our mat, maybe crossing your feet in the opposite manner. You got to get to high plank. How are you going to do it? Maybe you want to go forward. Yeah. Ooh. Now high plank, let's have hands under shoulders, elbow crooks turn outward. Feet are hip width apart. Big breath in and exhale. Elbows are tight to the ribs. That's it. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Exhale, downward dog. And back through to a seated position. All right. So the next position we're going to do is called the boat pose. And we're going to do 3 different kramas here. We'll do the position, then we'll do a little core lift. And then before you know it, it's going to be time for our Shavasana. All right, so we're going to bend our knees. Our knees are hip width apart. Feet are hip width apart. We're just going to grab the back of the thighs, shoulder blades back and down, chin tucked in. And what I want you to do is just lean backwards a little bit. So you want to lean back, but if you go too far, you're going to hit your sacrum. You're going to do a little backwards roll. So what we want to do is find that little sticking spot. It's a little flat spot right here. Tuck the chin, as I said, and let's hold. One more breath. Squeeze it out, feel your abdominal muscles contract here. Okay, now we're gonna fold the legs here in front. So we're still in a little balancing position. That's it, and then we can bring our feet to the floor. Okay, roll the shoulder blades back and down, press your hands on the floor. So all we want to do here is lift. So elbows have to be straight first. When I first used to do that, I used to have my elbows bent, and that's kind of cheating. So elbows are straight, and then we want to lift that way. So it's like a plunger. It's pulling up right in the base of your pelvis here. Awesome. Okay, second krama. Same idea as the setup. Back of the thigh, shoulder blades back and down, lean back, find that little flat spot. This time I'm going to point the toes. And again, if you go too high, watch, whoa, get onto the sacrum. So we want to find our edge. Maybe it's right here, let's hold. One more breath. That's good. We're going to cross our legs in the opposite manner. Pull those feet in. Try to stay in that little balanced position. Hold it. And then relax. All right. First one. We lifted the hips up and down. The second progression is to see if we can lift our hips and our feet. And relax. That's quite a bit more difficult, isn't it? Okay. Third krama here. This time we don't use our hands on the back of the thighs. So we're coming back. This may be the spot. Maybe we're pointing the feet. Maybe we're lifting up into the full vote. One more breath. Good job. Cross those legs. Hold the balance. All right, and relax. So the next one, the third one, I'm going to pull myself up a little bit, is we're actually just going to come forward, lift, a little donkey kick, little mule kick. So you want to try that? Up, kick, and land. Because that's going to help us do our vinyasa, okay? So the vinyasa, right? High plank, Exhale, low plank. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, downward dog. Good job. Let's walk the dog. So press one heel down, lifting up the other. We'll do that a couple times on each side. And we'll come back through to a seated position. All right. So we're going to move down onto our backs. We haven't done our spinal extension yet. So we're going to use the wheel pose for that. And there are some modifications, of course, for the wheel pose. So once again, we'll do 3 of them. What I want you to start with here is just on your back. I want you to straighten out both legs and take a full breath in. So anybody who knows, or any of my former clients or members, once we get to our backs, it means that it's almost time for us to come into Shavasana. So let's give that right knee a hug, and then we'll bring that left knee in. We call this a double knee hug. I want you to rock it left and right a couple of times. That's good. We're going to bring our feet to the floor so they're flat. So this is going to be a exercise that involves our hamstrings, our glutes, and our low back primarily. These are really important muscles that are quite often overlooked whenever we do exercises. So all we're going to do is we're going to inhale as we lift those hips up off the floor, and we're going to hold for about 5 deep breaths on your own. Go ahead. Breathe right into that belly. Watch that belly rise as you fill it full of air. And then on your next exhale, you can slowly relax, release the tension in the glutes, straighten out both legs, take 1 full breath in. And as you exhale, shake them out. That's it. Give yourself another double knee hug. And rock it left and right. All right. Bring those feet back to the floor. Your second progression, your second krama. This time what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to get our hands up here, and we're going to do a little balance on the top of the head. Now there's not much pressure at all on the head. Almost all of the pressure is in my hands and my feet. The head is more or less used as a balance here in this position, okay? So, first one was here. For that first one, we can also interlock our fingers under the back and press those hands into the floor. That'll help. Second progression, we're here, okay? So let's hold. Make sure your glutes are engaged. Most of the weight is in the hands, right? Not much on the head. And when you're done, simply relax. Straighten out your legs. Straighten out your arms. This is the foreshadowing of corpse pose, which is coming soon. Big breath in. Exhale, shake it out. Give yourself another double knee hug. Rock it left and right. Just be gentle because we're really contracting those posterior muscles, the ones on the back side. And when we do this double knee hug, we're stretching them out again. So we just have to be gentle. All right, so the full version of the wheel posture. Urdhva Dhanurasana. Okay, some people call it the full bridge. So you do what you want. Step 1. Step 2. Or if you want, step 3. And hold. And after your nice 5 breaths, nice and slowly and gently, return into your back. Straighten out the entire body. Take 1 full breath in here. And exhale, shake that out. Give yourself another double knee hug. All right. So we want to get our feet up above the level of our heart. We want to drain some of the lymphatic fluid that's in our feet, our lower extremities. So this is called legs up the wall pose. So you can actually turn around and get your legs right up the wall if you want. Or what you can do is some people put a strap on their feet here. Some people just grab the back of their thighs. So this is option 1. And I'm going to give you another option, that option being the shoulder stand. Okay, and there's a few different ways we can come into the shoulder stand. Point of caution, if you're menstruating, usually we don't want to do too many inversions as the flow is going one way and then we reverse that. It can cause some minor complications, minor issues, nothing too crazy, but I would just give you, that's a point of caution. The other point of caution is it's called a shoulder stand for a reason, because the weight of our body is going onto the shoulders, certainly not the back of the head or neck. Okay? So, option 1 is right here. Option 2, we can use our hands to support the low back. Now this is still Yang Yoga, so we still want to try to keep those legs strong and active. So for me, I have a little space between my knees. What I want to do is squeeze, which will help strengthen my adductors. Now the full version of the shoulder stand is actually with the legs perpendicular to the floor. Okay, you can't really see the rest of my legs, but they're quite perpendicular. There's no pressure whatsoever on my neck, right? I can talk, I can swallow. All of the pressure's in my shoulders. Now if you can't get the pressure on your shoulders, no offense, but it's because your core is a little weak, and you simply need to practice to make the core stronger. Just going to hold here for another 5 or 6 breaths. Keep those kneecaps lifting towards yourself, towards your face. Keep those legs squeezing inward. Even though it doesn't look like there's anything going on, there is. One more breath here. Good. Now the next position, if you wish, we're bringing those toes towards the floor behind us. It's called the plow pose. Once again though, look at my neck. There's no straining in the neck. The weight is on my shoulders. Sometimes people like to interlock their fingers and press those interlocked fingers into the floor. Now whether or not your toes reach the floor, it doesn't matter. Some people like to put a chair behind them right here, and they just rest those toes on the chair. Let's hold. One more breath. All right, now you got to get out of this position. And let go of those hands. Very gently give yourself a little back massage. Beautiful. Let's straighten out those legs. Take one full breath in here. Exhale. Shake out those legs. Give yourself another double knee hug here. And rock it left and right. Alright, so just a yin pose before we move into our final pose of Shavasana. So the yin pose for today is going to be a stirrup pose, or some people call it the happy baby pose, okay? So what we can do is we can take our hands on the outside of our feet and pull those knees towards the mat. Some people like to grab the big toes. Some people like to take the inside part of the feet and pull down. Some people, some people go inside and then wrap around outside. Whatever feels good for you. So we're going to hold for approximately 2 to 3 minutes. If you want, you can straighten one leg while bending the other. You can straighten both legs. You can bring both legs to the floor behind you. It's kind of your time to play around a little bit. I learned most of the theory from Jenny Kierstead. She was my first yoga teacher. But really, I learned yoga by doing yoga, usually by myself. So yin yoga is the cooling side of yoga. It's the kind of yoga where we allow all of our muscles to relax. It's a great way to finish our class. In yang yoga we usually hold for about 5 deep breaths. Yin yoga we hold anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. That's good. So if you want to have a song for Shavasana, your corpse pose, you can press play now. We have about 6 or 7 minutes here. If possible, I'd like you to lie flat on your back. So we should have a natural curve in the neck, and we should have a natural curve in the low back. If this is really uncomfortable for you, then you can bend one knee, or you can bend both knees, okay? Your feet are slightly separated from each other, your arms are slightly separated from your sides. Try to find a nice neutral position of the head. Some people will put a bolster or something under their neck, but I don't like this position of my neck because I do enough of that when I'm driving and texting. And so I want to reestablish that natural, perfect alignment of ear over shoulders. All right, I'm going to be quiet now. Relax, let go. Become a corpse. body and just noticing how good it feels. And we can start to wiggle our toes and our fingers to initiate movement. Your ankles and your wrists. Rotate your legs and your arms. Let's reach overhead with our arms and point the toes and take a big breath in. Good job. I want you to roll over onto the left side of your body. You can rest your head on your outstretched left arm. I'm mirroring you guys again. Curl your knees up towards your belly. Call this the fetal pose. And when you're ready, you're going to push up back to a seated position. All right, so thank you very much for coming. Actually, thank you very much for showing up at home. I'm really trying to take all the excuses out of why we aren't doing yoga more often. I really and truly believe it can really help and prevent most disease and illnesses. You know, a lot of people will come to me, oh, McKinnon, I've got this, can yoga help? And I say, well, of course it can, but really yoga's really good at preventing things from creeping in the first place. So what I'd like you to do is, if you have any questions, I want you to email them to me. And then at the end of all my classes, maybe I'll have like a 5-minute Q&A session where I'll read questions from you so that other people who may have the same question will be able to get the answer that I'm going to give you. All right? So we'll bring our hands together, our heart center. So this is the come together. This is the yin and yang of ourselves coming together to form us, a balanced individual in this crazy, chaotic life most of us live. The thumbs touch the heart. That's the mind-body connection that is yoga. Yoga is the connection of mind, body, and soul. So sit up nice and tall. I always end my class usually the same way. Sometimes I'll do ohms, sometimes I won't, but I almost always use the word Shanti, and I'll repeat Shanti 3 times. Shanti means peace, and each of those pieces means something else. So, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The first piece, I touch my third eye. This is signifying peace for myself. The second one, I touch my lips. And this one represents peace for all of my loved ones. And the third one, I touch my heart. This is peace for the entire world. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste. Yeah. See you next week.